All right, beloveds. You know, spirit is a funny, funny, funny thing. So before I actually get started with my prepared time with you today, I just want to point out, for those of you online, you may not notice the light change that occurred during our prayer time, but for those of you in the room, you may have noticed our light change, which is funny that suddenly our electric on this side of the building is tricky, which is not so surprising given that I am talking about the flow of energy today. Isn't that funny? And part of what I'm talking about is what happens when our flow is interrupted and no longer can the light easily be on. So thank you, Spirit, for the demonstration. Let us raise our voices in song for a moment. If some of you are aware of a Whitney Houston song that was out a bit back by Wyclef Jean, Your Love Is My Love, we're going to sing a little bit of that. You're going to find lyrics on the screen. Join me with Your love is my love is your love. It would take an eternity to break us, and the chains of our Messiah couldn't hold us. Let's do it again. Your love is my love is your love. It would take an eternity to break us, and the chains of our Messiah couldn't hold us. Your love is my love is your love. It would take an eternity to break us, and the chains of our Messiah couldn't hold us. This is the truth of wholeness. This is the truth that the energy of the Holy Blessed One, which is the animating force behind all of life itself, is always in flow. That love, that wholeness, that perfection, that divine motion is unbreakable, right? Unbreakable, undeniable, ever, ever, ever moving for good. And that wholeness is true on the macro, whether we choose to believe that, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. But that very same flow, that very same infinite energy, absolute perfect force of good is also what is animating us right now. Which means we have access to that energy. We have access to that uninterrupted flow of good. But it requires a conscious awareness of it. And one of the things we were thinking about during creating this series of Crafting Beloved Community are all of the ways of being that go into the flow of good in the appearance of people gathering together, which is maybe one way to think about beloved community, is the difference between a group of people in a room or a group of people hanging out, and beloved community is a conscious awareness of the flow of good that the community itself is an expression of. And in order to do that, one of the things we must practice is integrity. And I found this definition of integrity, which I love: the state of being whole and undivided. The state of being whole and undivided. This concept of integrity is a truth, whole and undivided, of the Holy Blessed One, right? Whole and undivided is the truth of Spirit itself. And so this whole and undivided state of being, called integrity, must then be available to us at all times. Because I think we think integrity means that our actions are in congruence with our values, right? That our actions are incongruent with what we believe is good. But there is a greater integrity that if we choose to become conscious and committed to our wholeness, integrity is so. We don't have to be efforting at it. We don't have to like reason and be logical and unpack and think about, is my value a good value? Is this a bad value? Is my value right or is their value right? All of that flies out the window when we simply commit ourselves to our wholeness. And when we commit ourselves to our wholeness on an individual level, guess what happens on the collective level? Your love is my love is your love, my wholeness is your wholeness is my wholeness. This integrity becomes less of a political issue, a policy issue, a righteousness issue, and simply a state of being the truth of who we are. How many people have fairy lights or do Christmas lights? Anybody? At home, put a thumbs up in the chat. How many of you have spent enormous amounts of time checking because the string of light won't turn on, right? I mean, I have memory after memory growing up in my household, because there's a lot of lights on my mama's tree, a lot of lights. And if that string of lights wasn't working, then what did we have to do? All right, I'll check. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. And then voila, you find the one that is the culprit. You fix those little copper wires, or you replace it, and bam, the whole string of lights comes on. So what happens when you're the light that's out? What happens when you're the one whose connection is a little tricky? That whole string of lights is impacted because there is one whole. There is one whole. The state of being whole and undivided. And I think it's not hard to imagine right now what that means on a group level, what that means on a collective level, what that means in the United States, what that means for the world, right? When we are divided. We have all the examples of what that means. But what does that mean when we are divided in ourselves? What does it mean when you are divided in your own consciousness? The division that happens when you are in conflict with the truth of who you are. And I think there are many, 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 many ways that we are conflicted, that we experience an interruption in our own flow. Think about the ways that you have shown up in your life that maybe you're not so happy about. Maybe that you wouldn't want to like shout out or put on a billboard. The ways you have interrupted your true nature from showing up. This is the solution many of us are searching for to create a world that works for everyone. This is the solution many of us are looking for to create a life that works for me. Think about, just go with me for one moment. Think about the last week. Find a time that you showed up to life in a way that you're not good with. And then what I want you to do is to track the thought that made it possible for you to show up less than you are. What I'm pretty positive is that thought is based in fear. Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah, I see a lot of heads nodding. At home, put it in the comments feed. Whatever that thing that was going on in you that kept you from showing up to life in the way that was meaningful and whole was based in fear. I believe fear is our great interrupter. The fear of shame, the fear of not enoughness, not good enough, not having enough, not being liked enough, not being thought of well enough. What else?
Failure.
The fear of failure. What else came up for people? What was the core idea behind the thought you discovered? Not being good enough. And those of you online, put it in the comments feed. Maybe somebody in the room can help me take a peek at that and let me know what folks are saying. But the reality is, the greater reality is there is no interruption. The fairy lights are always lit. The choice becomes, do we want to experience that or not? The choice becomes, how conscious and aware am I willing to be, able to be, grow myself to be, to recognize that the lights are always on. To align myself with the truth that I am always in the flow of the greater energy, because here I am, alive and animated, right? Which means I have energy. Anybody have those days where we even say all the time, I'm low energy today? I just don't have the energy for that. I can't think of the number of times as a parent I've been like, Lord, I do not have the energy today. And it's just not what is true, is it? What is true is there is energy because we are alive. Remember the definition of energy I used earlier in this series, that the use, the skillful use of our energy to affect what matters to us is the definition of power. And we are all powerful beings. And when we make use, conscious, skillful use of our energy, we are a powerful force. But when we have the story that our energy is low, or that our energy is interrupted, what happens then to the power you and I each have to make use of? Say it louder.
Goes down.
Yes. The power we have to impact the things that we care about becomes lessened. Or even more relevant, becomes the misuse of power. Because now I want you to go back to the way that you showed up in your life this week that was like not cute. And who did you hurt?
Myself.
What mess did you make that then maybe you got to go back and clean up, right? Those messes we make when we show up in a way we're not good about, and then we have to go back and apologize. This is small-scale misuse of power. And I bet every single one of us in this room right now could tell at least 3 stories of how folks on the planet are misusing power. Yeah? And they are jerk faces. And yet everybody in this room and online today already said, I misused my power this week. I showed up in my life in a way that I don't feel good about. I allowed my consciousness to trip up and forget the truth of who I am. That is all that is happening globally when anybody has a choice or makes a way that we would consider the misuse of power. That's all that's happening. We done tripped up and forgot. But when we become more conscious of this absolutely intelligent and powerful and all-loving force that is animating every tiny bit of life, we cannot ignore the power that you have, that I have on an individual level. And that consciousness grows in awareness and recognizing that, whoa, this animating force, this love that is moving me in my life is moving you, is moving us, inherently connects us. And when that power gets together, wow. When we talk about spiritual growth, growing our consciousness, becoming more aware of the truth, that is what we are talking about. That is what I'm talking about when I say, your love is my love, and my love is your love. There is nothing that can break that. It is an absolute truth. Things get really fun and juicy when we become more conscious and aware of that truth. When we grow our skill at making use of this power, of this energy, of this force, of this love that is God. All the spiritual practices, all of the time we spend in rooms like these, in conversations like this, in classes, in groups, in cushion time, in prayer, is all for the purpose for you and I to become masterful and skillful in the use of our energy, in aligning ourselves with the truth of who we are, so that our lived life is one that is powerfully impacting the world, our relationships, the planet, our entire experience for good. Which means we must become skillful at knowing when we're interrupted. We must become skillful when we hear ourselves saying things like, I'm low energy. I don't have the energy for that. That's like ding, ding, ding. You better get on your practice. It might be time to check in because you are telling an untrue story that you have an infinite supply of energy. Now, I am not saying you need to busy yourself and fall prey to the toxic capitalist idea that you are only worthy if you are productive. Very different ideas. What I am saying is your access to the greatest power in the universe is infinite. You cannot break your access. You cannot lose access. However you showed up this last week in a way you don't feel good about, it doesn't mean you have to go to the back of the line. Energy does not punish us. It just is. And with our conscious awareness, with our conscious alignment, we get to make use of it, and we get to get better and better and better at it. I think it also requires a kind of honesty to kind of dive into those conflicted places and go, okay, I'm feeling interrupted. Someone asked me just this morning, can I get a spiritual lobotomy? Could we just cut out the conflict? Can I just how do I quiet the mind? Which is where all the conflict begins. And any meditation teacher will tell you, you don't quiet the mind, because that's the mind's job, to be thinking. That's what it's there for. However, there is this thing called mastering our mind. Being at choice about which thoughts I follow, what beliefs I choose to give attention to. The skillful use of my energy requires me to have a mastery of this incredible tool called mind, called brain, called thinking. And I was sitting with this week, and I was thinking about what does interrupt me? And I have a story that it's other people, right? I have a story that it's dogs who come in and, howl during my Zoom meetings. It's children who need something when I'm in the middle of something else. It's y'all who call me or text me on my days off. I have all the stories about how I am interrupted. But the only thing that interrupts my flow, the only thing, are thoughts that do not serve me. Misunderstanding that I believe to be true. It's the only thing. So I want you to go back. And if you are just joining us now, I want you to find an occasion in the last week where you showed up in the world in a way you do not feel good about. You would not advertise on a billboard. And I want you to go back again to the thought, the very likely fear-based thought that made that action possible. And ask yourself, was that thought or that fear or that misunderstanding true? Was it a true belief that had me showing up like a jerk face, or whatever way you showed up or didn't show up maybe? And so very quickly, with some honest attention to our own minds, you and I can discover how often there are untrue thoughts running around in there that we give power to. How do we give power to those misbeliefs, misunderstanding, untrue thoughts? Because we give our attention and our energy to it. This whole spiritual living thing is not complex, but it does require consciousness and willingness to unapologetically bring awareness to what is going on in here. One of the ways, because I can't offer spiritual lobotomies, but one of the ways that we can master and become more skillful in the use of energy that is God itself moving through our very beings, that has brought us here by divine appointment to be the perfect, unique expression of the greatest power in the universe, by the way. There ain't nothing but good in that. The way that we become more skillful, that we become more conscious, is to pay attention to our attention. You trip up on interrupted flow. You trip up on bad behavior because you've given your attention to something untrue. It is that simple. Whether it be a fear whether it be an inherited misbelief of unworthiness, whether it be a should or a supposed to. So imagine what becomes possible when you attend to truth more than you attend to untruth. Go back to that moment where you tripped up on some stuff this last week and undo it with a true idea, thought, belief. How might you have showed up different had you been more aligned with what is true? Does anybody get excited about that possibility? Is anybody like, ooh, I might now? Yeah? Because I find as I get myself more aware of what is true, I also become more aware of what is possible. And then a new experience wakes me up, increases my flow, grows my capacity to do what maybe one thought ago seemed impossible. That is the power of alignment, of conscious awareness. That is the power of deciding I am going to busy myself like a boss in being exactly what I am. I am no longer going to entertain misbelief, fear of my not enoughness. I'm no longer entertaining that. Think about this for a moment. You've got a savings account, and hopefully you got some money in it. And what have you been saving this for? Fabulous vacation, down payment on a new house, something to leave your kids and your grandbabies. Now, what if you dipped into that savings account and spent up all that well-intended energy on low energy? Oh, let me spend some more over here on I suck. Let me spend some more over here on I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not fast enough. Is that really where you want to put your energy? Is that what you want to spend this incredible gift of aliveness, of divinity on? Because you can. We are all free to live this life exactly as we choose, to spend our energy, our time, our resources exactly as you wish. I find myself saying that a lot to folks. Well, I'm going to, but I'm not going to, as you wish. It is the great joy of this aliveness to understand this incredible, precious gift you and I have been given, appointed, anointed, to be the master of our energy. This incredible opportunity to be the only one expressing uniquely this divine energy in the way that I can, that you can in this life. And I think when I know when I sit in that truth, when I sit in that gift, conscious and aware of this incredible opportunity that lies in my breath, I know without a shadow of doubt that it is only good. There is no other possibility. I don't have to question whether or not this aliveness is good, because I know it in every fiber of my being when I sit in that truth. And sometimes that good is overwhelming by itself, like, what? I get to do that? I get to show up and just love on folks? What? Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, you do. Let me take back all those misspent resources, right? Anybody else? Just go ahead and take them back. Take back all that misspent energy, all that misspent power, and bring it into what is the absolute truth, that you are here by divine appointment. You are here on purpose. The very breath in your body is the breath of God itself. That is worthy of your time, of your resources, of your undivided wholeness. I can't think of anything that could even begin to climb close to that level of importance. It is my great honor to say yes. Yes, I'm going to be the Amani I have been sent here to be. Thank you for the privilege. Coming into this idea of this practice of integrity, one of the pieces, I believe, that we've been gifted in this aliveness is these incredible bodies of ours, these feeling machines that we have the honor to inhabit. And the other tool, rather than just attending to the thoughts that get us in trouble and the thoughts that lift us into the greater capacity that is ours, is to pay attention to what is happening in our bodies. Pay attention to those warning signs that happen in these bodies of ours that are like, you might be interrupted. You might want to take a minute and get back into flow. And so in your body, I want you to acknowledge some experience that you have that lets you know something may be amiss. And for all of us, it may be different. I know when my breath gets shallow. I know I'm like not dipping into the pool of good. When I'm like, just don't breathe too deep because then it won't feel so bad. So what are the ways that you know you are interrupted? Shout them out. Put them in the comments feed to my beloveds online. Back pain. Belly gets tight. Belly gets tight. Shoulders. Ooh, that's a big one for a lot of people. Headaches. I had a spiritual teacher tell me once, headaches, which I've suffered from at that time quite often, were a symptom of overthinking. And I was like, who are you talking to? Because it was true. Anybody else? Anxiety. And what does anxiety feel like in your body? You feel crazy? Is it hard to sit still? Yeah. Restless leg syndrome. Anybody? Just say it again. Spooky tingles. Yes. Insomnia. Oh, yeah. That's a biggie for a lot of folks. There is this incredible grace, this incredible intelligence in the one that is always talking to you, letting you know, hey, your light might be a little dim. Hey, over here, let's bring it back. All of this hinting and opportunity and invitation to do this one simple thing, to grow into the nature that is your divine nature, that is already so. So all of these clues and these hints and these invitations are ours for the taking. I want to share with you from Clarissa, who is one of our practitioners and often one of our leaders here on Sunday, what Clarissa has discovered as a practice to continue to come back to flow. We're going to share a video with you now.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good and grateful to be here because you always help me recenter and get back in the flow. And so I was wondering, how should we start?
How about with a breathing exercise?
Yay.
Okay, so this is very simple. It's called a 3-part breath. It comes from the lineage of Qigong. And the way it works is you just inhale into the belly. I like to use the hands. So inhale lower belly, inhale more to the heart, inhale more to the collarbones, hold the breath in, lift the pelvic floor if you can, and then relax, let it go. Let's try that again. Take just a deep breath in and let it go. And then inhale into the lower belly. Inhale more, lift the heart. Inhale more into the collarbones. Feel the spaciousness. And then when you need to exhale, softly relax. Exhaling through the mouth. Let's do a few shoulder rolls, opening up the shoulders, really pulling them down away from the ears. This is where we tend to hold tension, where we tend to hold responsibility that isn't ours. And then switch direction, shoulder rolls other way. The ancient yogis said that the rib cage, the soul is the prisoner of the rib cage. So as we move the rib cage, we make space for the soul.
We set it free.
Yes, we set our soul free. So that's why I'm so passionate about breath work.
Yes.
And that particular breathing exercise really helps with anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious, just try that. And when you get to the collarbones, hold the breath as long as you can comfortably. No passing out. Just when you feel like you need to exhale, exhale.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn and Clarissa. I love that. So some of what you guys mentioned is what you notice in your body she's addressing in this video, which this video will live on our YouTube page and you will have access to it forever. So you can follow along with it because this is your homework this week. Because this divine energy that is ever flowing is your birthright. It is the truth of who you are. It is what you are made of, and you deserve to have uninterrupted access to it. So grab on to some practices this week, whether they are body-centered, like Lynn and Clarissa shared with us, where you just keep coming back to your breath, which I know for me is one of the biggies. If I can just remember to bring my conscious awareness to my breathing, most everything flows with ease and grace. So do that practice this week. If you are someone who is interested in the flow of thought and misunderstanding and misbelief in your own mind, that's your homework. Pay attention to what you're giving your attention, resources, time, and energy to. What are the thoughts you are allowing to be the impetus to your action. And then choose a new one that serves you better. This is how we live spiritually. This is how you solve whatever it is you want to solve in your life. And this is how we solve the world and create what it is we actually want to be living in. So anchor this with me by singing our song. And this time we're going to change the word. You'll see, your flow is my flow. Your flow is my flow. My flow is your flow. It would take an eternity to break us, and the chains of Amistad couldn't hold us. My flow is your flow. Your flow is my flow. It would take an eternity to break us, and the chains of Amistad couldn't hold us. I love you. I am so delighted that I get to be in flow with you. And may you take that delight with you all week long. Thank you so much. Let's have Maddie close us out.
Beautiful morning. Take a deep breath, settle in, knowing that everything today that was heard and shared is just meaningful and important and can change our lives. Knowing that the message that was shared is just something to ponder this week, something to take on, something to notice, something to maybe bring our awareness to, that we can stay in that flow, that we can change the way we live our lives, which affects everyone else on the chain of the light, so that we can all light up together and make a difference in the world. Because as we do that here, it's gonna go out into the universe. It's going to affect your city, your town, your state, your country, your world. So as we continue on with that, knowing the truth for ourselves, it affects everyone in such a positive way. So knowing that that message today is felt and heard, and it makes a difference, knowing that is true right here, right now. I'm so grateful for all of this. I'm grateful for the abundance of all the people that showed up, that all the people that watched online, all the people that got to be a part of this service today. Grateful for all of our people that helped out, Jordana and Emil, for Amani, for Dino, for our people that are in the back holding high watch for us. Grateful for everyone, and knowing that we are so blessed in this day. I let it go, I let it be, and say, and so it is.